Yes, yes, Mr. Gogoi. Please. बैठिए, please. ओहो, जय
मैम,
प्रेमचंद्रन जी, हो गया ना? हो गया। पहले भी होता रहा है। बैठिए, आपको मालूम नहीं तो बैठिए। Yes, Gogoi जी. Yes, please start.
Honorable
संतोष जी हैं तो सही, ऐसा क्या कर रहे हो? क्या उठा रहे हो आप?
Honorable Speaker, Madam,
कौन है?
this is an important area.
Oh, Premachandra.
Water
He is there.
relates
He is there. देखो ना वो
to
बैठे
many
हो ना,
aspects
एक बार
of
खड़े
Indian
होके बोलो,
citizens.
आप बैठे हो।
And we would have been happy, while we are happy that Minister of State
Yes.
is present, given the importance of this subject, we would have appreciated even more if Cabinet Minister Shri Uma Bharti ji would
She
have
will
been
also
here.
be.
Given this government's electoral concerns towards the rivers and water bodies, we would have appreciated and would have extremely valued the presence of Shri Uma Bharti, and we note her absence. Before I begin on this subject, Honorable Madam, I would first like to draw the attention of the House to the death of a 30-year-old man from Manipur in Delhi. He has been beaten to death, and we hope that there would be speedy investigation, and we condone his loss, and we regret, and we pass on our condolence messages to the members of this deceased person. Madam Speaker, during the elections, I had made a campaign promise to the citizens in my constituency. I told them that the first subject that I will raise in this August House would be the subject of water resources, because it is related to many aspects, to drinking water, to sanitation, to flood, to groundwater contamination. And I feel that today, not only am I representing the voters of my constituency, but representing the entire state of Assam, for whom the Barak and Brahmaputra River Valley hosts are of national importance. Madam, the National Water Policy of 2012 in the preamble itself states that water is a scarce resource. India holds 18% of the world's population, but only 4% of the world's freshwater resource. There are many states in India which are water stressed, and we must take attention of this precious resource. It is an inheritance that we have got, and it is this inheritance that we should aim to multiply through this budget. Ma'am, the Union Government budget of 2014 and 15 has taken some considerable measures, and we appreciate, namely the accelerated irrigation benefits and program and flood management program has received 8,992 crores. The Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sochai Yojana has received 1,000 crores. Budget allocated to the Northeast has been 1,474 crores, and there has been a DPR submitted budget of 100 crores. Nonetheless, there are many issues which have not received their national importance, their recognition, and I want to draw the attention of this House to that. Madam Speaker, I would first like to raise the issue of the holy river Ganga. माँ गंगा को मेरा प्रणाम, मैं नमन करता हूँ, और हमें खुशी है कि इस सरकार ने नमामि गंगा के कारण 2,074 crores का एक बजट बनाया है. Madam Speaker, Ganga is one of the holiest rivers in the world. And for the past 40 years, we as Indians have failed to take care of this river. India Today reports that 3 billion liters of sewage is dumped into this holy river every day. There are 250 industries which dump their pollutants on this river. Reports say that industry effluents comprise 20% and effluents from cities comprise 80%. So as a society, as governments, state and central both, as people, as businesses, as corporates, as NGOs, as people following various religions and various spiritual communities, we have collectively failed to address the issue of the Ganga. Madam Speaker, this government has focused on Ganga Manthan and the conservation of River Ganga. But before we embark upon an ambitious project, it is important to see what has worked in the past and what has not worked. Since 1985, various Ganga conservation projects have been taking place. Where it could be the Ganga Action Plan number 1, Ganga Action Plan number 2. We have a National Ganga River Basin Authority. Close to 7,000 crores have been spent. 1,441 sewage treatment plants have been made. There have been various studies and projects on Farakka barrage. And there are a lot of issues which have stalled the successful implementation of these projects. These issues could be to land acquisition. These issues could be to erratic power supply. These issues could be to incomplete treatment of wastewater. So I would urge the government that before it embarks upon another huge mission, there should be a careful assessment of what has worked in the past and what has not worked. And from there on, we should move and plan for the future. Madam Speaker, in his reply, Honorable Union Minister for Finance said that there are many campaign promises that this budget had made, but since this budget is for a limited period of time, a lot of these campaign promises have received 100 crores. Whether it is the Van Bandhu project, 100 crores, modernization of madrasas, 100 crores, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's precious scheme, Beti Bachao Andolan, 100 crores. So the Union Minister for Finance says that for reasons related to pragmatism, 100 crores has been allocated. But when it comes to the conservation and rejuvenation of Ganga, close to 4,000 crores have been spent and have been allocated in this budget. I would like to ask the government, why is there such unnecessary haste? Why is there such a haste to allocate so much of budget when proper studies have not been done? For Beti Bachao Andolan, we say we need more time and therefore 100 crores is required only in this year. But for our most precious asset, we have already allocated over 4,000 crores. Madam Speaker, we acknowledge the fact that Cabinet Minister Shri Uma Bharti ji herself is personally devoted to the cause of Ganga, and therefore again I would like to note her absence. Even before she became minister, for many years she had campaigned vociferously for the conservation of River Ganga. But Madam Speaker, this Ministry of Water Resources cannot be the ministry of one person and cannot be dictated by the dreams and aspirations of one person. There are close to 29 cities on the River Ganga, cities which have a population of above 1 lakh. There are 28 cities which have a population between 50,000 to 1 lakh. There are 48 towns which have a population below 50,000 along the River Ganga. So when we are talking about rejuvenation of Ganga, we must ensure that this process is democratic and involves the voices of all these stakeholders. It should be necessary that we should involve the voices of the boat communities, the fishing communities, the farm communities, the various voices of the state governments. But already we have seen in the most recently held Ganga Manthan that democratic processes and stakeholder consultations have been ignored. Madam Speaker, at the Ganga Manthan conference, it had been announced already that there's a 4,000 crores budget which has been allocated from the World Bank for Allahabad to Haldia river transport corridor. It had also been announced by the Minister Shri Gadkari ji that between Varanasi to Hooghly there will be 11 terminals with barrages every 100 kilometers, and dredging will be done close to 3 or 5 meters and 45 meters wide. Madam Speaker, this is a huge infrastructural project, and various experts have raised concerns. National Ganga River Basin Authority, in its movement with the Save Ganga, had already expressed that the objective for Ganga is a Nirmal Ganga and an Aviral Ganga, an uninterrupted flow of the River Ganga. But when the Minister himself, Gadkari ji, announced that there would be barrages 100 kilometers distance from each other, can we ensure an uninterrupted Ganga? When we are dredging 3 to 5 meters, are we respecting the fact that the Ganga River is not a river that can be tamed? It's a river to be revered, and engineering solutions will not lead to improved transport. Madam Speaker, it is unclear as to what is the objective of this government when it comes to the Ganga. They talk about inland water transport. At the same time, they talk about beautification of ghats. At the same time, they want to make it Nirmal. All of this is not possible when you have such large-scale industrial projects. How can you ensure that Ganga will remain Nirmal? Madam Speaker, this budget has also not indicated what steps will be taken to clean the river Ganga. I have already mentioned that close to 3 billion liters of sewage is dumped every day. A 2012 study from Banaras Hindu University says that in a year, in a matter of 12 months, 33,000 cremations takes place, which means 700 tons of ash and partially burned skeletal matter, our bones, our skeletons, have been dumped into the river Ganga. How does this union government want to ensure a Nirmal Ganga? That is what we want to know. The city of Varanasi itself generates close to 400 MLDs of sewage daily. What steps will this union government take? It is one thing to announce a grand and dream plan. It is altogether a separate thing to announce a clear-cut, measurable, implementation-based roadmap. And with its large focus on the river Ganga, Madam Speaker, my concern is that the other functions of the Ministry of Water Resources has been diluted or severely compromised. This is a drought here. The western states of India will receive minimal precipitation. But at this point of time, this union budget does not have has not indicated any measures as to what we will do related to water reservoirs. Our water reservoirs hold the water for irrigation, and yet this August House will be shocked to know that our water reservoirs are operating at 22% of their storage capacity. Madam Speaker, water is the most essential asset of this country. It brings lives to our farmers, it brings lives to our citizens. It regenerates our soil, it rejuvenates our forests, and yet our water reservoirs are operating at 22% of the capacity. Madam Speaker, you would be further shocked to know that recently there was a group of very bright technical students from Telangana who drowned when they were on a swimming expedition because the waters of the dam were released without warning. And like that, madam, there are many other dams in India which are many years old, and their structures are weakening. But does this August House know that how much money has been spent on dam safety studies? The answer is zero. On dam safety studies, this budget has given zero money. Aren't we disrespecting the families of those drowned in the river? Aren't we disrespecting the memories of those villages which have been suddenly inundated when water from the dam was released? Madam Speaker, in addition to dam safety and water reservoir, we must acknowledge the effects of climate change. The National Water Policy 2012 itself says that climate change is a severe issue. Climate change affects precipitation patterns. Madam Speaker, the farmer depends on a predictable precipitation pattern. The life of a paddy farmer in Assam is destabilized when rainfall doesn't take place at the time that it's supposed to. And yet on precipitation, yet on groundwater contamination, this government has not taken any significant measures. It has announced a scheme of accelerated irrigation benefit management of 8,992 crores, but there are several areas in Assam and West Bengal where the groundwater is contaminated with arsenic and fluoride. Do we want to extract that groundwater and spray it on our fields and then feed the rice and food to our children, thereby feeding them poison? An IIT Delhi study itself has revealed that there is banned pesticide, DDT, in our groundwater. What has this government done for groundwater contamination? Madam Speaker, this government says that it is only 45 days old. Yet its thinking needs to show maturity and needs to show sustainability. Unfortunately, its thinking shows adolescence, and thereby it's adopting only short-term or mid-term measures. Madam Speaker, water is a precious asset. And if we want to conserve it, we must build the institutions related to water, upgrade the institutions, make it of world-class stature, have the best of people working at these institutions. The Ministry of Water Resources itself has several institutions attached to it, where it is the Central Water Commission, the Central Soils and Material Board, the National Institute of Hydrology or Central Groundwater. What steps have been taken to upgrade these institutions? These institutions have taken a backseat to grand programs and grand missions and grand schemes. Madam Speaker, if we want to ensure the successful implementation of these programs, we must strengthen these institutions, which is what this government is not doing. Madam Speaker, this ministry has forgotten that it represents the whole of India, and across India in many states there are families who have a spiritual and a deep religious relationship with the rivers in their respective states, whether it is Krishna, Kaveri, Narmada, Godavari, Brahmaputra or Barak. From Assam itself, every year people come to the ghats of river Ganga. But when they come to the ghats of river Ganga, they have a prayer in their mind. And their prayers are for the flood-affected victims in Brahmaputra, the flood-affected victims of the river Barak. When they come to the ghat, they pray to Ma Ganga that please can we stop the erosion of soil that is taking place due to river Brahmaputra. This union government has not heard their prayers, madam. This union government has forgotten that lakhs of land in Assam have been lost due to erosion by the river Brahmaputra. An economic loss of 36,000 crores as per 2004 prices. That has been the economic loss to the state of Assam. How can the state work if it does not receive the aid from this union budget of 2014-15? Ma'am, the Brahmaputra is widening. It was 3,870 square kilometers in 1912. It has doubled to 6,080 kilometers in 2006. Annual loss of land is 8,000 hectares. Ma'am, if there is one issue which unites all the MPs from Assam across all political parties, is that all of us, whether we are in Dhubri, we are in Silchar, we are in Kolyabod, wherever we are in Johorhat or Lakhimpur, one issue that unites all of us, that erosion must be given its national importance and must be treated as a national calamity. I urge my MPs across the political lines that we must tell this government that we need to hold and constitute a Brahmaputra River Valley Authority which will look at this issue from a comprehensive and a holistic point of view. Madam Speaker, this government, this party in this state talks a lot about Majuli, our spiritual home in Assam, and how the island is sinking. But this government has not announced a special package. We demand that special package must be done for Majuli. Madam Speaker, on the issue of foreign policy, an issue that I would like to raise. Madam Speaker, there's been a lot of concerns that China is constructing a lot of hydropower projects on the river Brahmaputra. If tomorrow, if we have to have a legal tussle with China on who has greater access to Brahmaputra, China right now has the legal option of saying that China has constructed more hydropower projects on Brahmaputra, and Assam and rest of Northeast India has not. So India does not have the equitable access that China has. And therefore, in order to protect our water security, we must ensure that the projects on river Brahmaputra are completed on time. Madam Speaker, just towards the end, I'm winding up right now. I want to raise a few issues related to my constituency. From Tikiklai, Sapori, Pora, Dhansri Muk, from Komorgaon, Pora, Bihora, from Kolodrova, Pora, Lahori Got, Mohamari, Pora, Silghat, Rongagora, Gaon Panchayat irrigation project, Kolbari, Bafola, Niolghat erosion project, Lakhwa Usod erosion project. These are some important erosion and flood management projects that need to be taken seriously by this government. Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you for this time, and I would like to thank the members of this House for their time and for their respect and patience they have shown me. But in the end, I would just like to conclude with one quote from the legendary poet Bhupen Hazarika himself. Mahabau Brahmaputro Mahamilano Tirtho Koto Jog Dhori Ase Prakhaki Homonoyor Artho. Madam Speaker, the mighty Brahmaputra is a pilgrimage for secularism and integration. And Koto Jog Yugo se Dhori Ahi se Prakhaki Homonoyor Artha. हजार सालों से हजार युगों से ये ब्रह्मपुत्र नदी शांति और हार्मनी सद्भावना का एक ये जो दो मैसेज है इसको पकड़ के रखा है। मैं रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा, दरख्वास्त करना चाहूँगा कि कृपया ब्रह्मपुत्र और बराक को ऐसे इग्नोर ना करें। लाखों परिवारों का ये प्रार्थना जुड़ा हुआ है इस नदियों के साथ, उन प्रार्थना की कृपया आप ये सरकार सुने। यही कह के मैं यहाँ पर अपना भाषण में समाप्त करना चाहूँगा। धन्यवाद, शुक्रिया।
श्रीमती विजय